What is going on, everyone? My name's Andy and welcome to another FPL video. Today it's Game Week 19 preview, or at least a preview of sorts. As you can see from the hat, the jumper, and the time of this video going live, it's Christmas Day, so Merry Christmas to everyone watching this video. Happy holidays. I know not everyone watching this will be celebrating Christmas. Perhaps it's just another day to you. Whatever happens today, hopefully you have a good one, whether you're celebrating something or not. I am denied about making this video. Basically, you can say anything you want about this channel, whether the videos are good, whether I know what I'm talking about, whether I don't, whatever it may be. One thing I kind of pride myself on is consistency. I think when it comes to FPL and stuff like that, people want consistent videos. They want you there week in, week out, whether you do bad, whether you do good. And that's something that I try and do on this channel. Now, last year it wasn't really a problem. I did my first full season. I don't think I missed a single game week. But I was at home over the Christmas period and it was much easier to do. This year I'm away and I kind of ummed about doing one. I didn't want to spend the time when we're away with family and stuff visiting, necessarily worrying about FPL too much or how I'm going to make a video. So I decided not to do that, decided not to take any recording equipment, get a new laptop or anything like that. But I did think maybe I could do something in advance. And I know that Christmas Day for everyone is not the same, and sometimes you're just hanging around, perhaps looking for something to watch. So maybe this video is for you. Obviously, if you're off doing other things, then fair enough. From next game week, we should have normal streams and videos throughout to the end of the season. Fingers crossed. Obviously, anything can happen, but that's the plan. But today, I wanted to put a video out. I decided to do it in the end. Obviously, I can't talk specifics. I can't talk about what happened in Game Week 18. At the time we're recording this, the League Cup games haven't even happened before Game Week 18. That's how early I'm having to record this just to get it in. So I've gone more generic, looking at teams you might target, how many rest days and stuff there are, who the best captaincy option in Game Week 19 may be. Obviously, if there's a major injury in Game Week 18, Sterling or Sané or Salah or someone like that gets injured, obviously that's a very big talking point that I just can't go into in this preview. But obviously going forward, I'll be back to normal. So I wanted to say that at the start of the video. I don't want to dupe anyone into thinking this is a freshly recorded video after Game Week 18. If you want specifics from that game week and moving forwards, then probably best to just turn off this video and come back for the next game week. If you're happy to watch and it's something you think you might enjoy, then stick around and we'll go into it. So yeah, happy holidays out the way. Have a good one. Moving on to rests and breaks. So obviously, the Christmas period is quite congested. Some teams have more rest days than others. Ultimately, there's going to be rotation either way because there are so many fixtures in a short space of time. But there are some teams that get more rest than others, which I think, although we won't be able to exactly know who's going to get rested and rotated, we could probably have a better idea of who it's more likely to happen to because of the rest days. So obviously, it's not a complete science, but if you look at Liverpool, for example, they get 10 rest days. Now, this is covering from Game Week 18 to 19, then 19 to 20, and 20 to 21. So they get 10 days rest between their games in total. It's 4 games, 4 days. Now, this is full days rest. Obviously, they might play on the 20th, and then not again to the 24th. That's only kind of 2 or 3 days rest in between. So Liverpool get four games off between the first one, but only 2 for the next one. And then 4 games for the last one there. But it's 10 in total, that's quite a lot. And because of that, I don't think we'll see a huge amount of rotation, especially in the front 3. Liverpool, obviously, top of the league at the time of recording this. Done very well to get there. And I'm not sure the attackers they can bring in are quite as good, especially if they rotate kind of 2 or 3 of the front 3. I think they've got to keep kind of Salah and Mane, or Mane and Firmino. So wouldn't expect too much rotation, but obviously that second game is a bit of a worry. And then the next 2 up are Wolves and Man City. Now, Wolves, I wouldn't expect them to rotate much anyway. Obviously, they've not got Europe and stuff to worry about, so they're not. It's not like they've had a tough season up until this point. Man City is probably the one we're more concerned about. They have 3 days rest in between each one, so not too dissimilar to a Champions League period. But obviously, with a club like Man City, like Liverpool, to be fair, they've got good strength and depth. So you may only expect Sané or Sterling to play kind of 2 of those games. Sané, I think, because he's on that left, probably not so much due a rest, especially as he's having one tonight in the League Cup. Sterling, because Mahrez is there, may get more of an opportunity to have a rest. But basically, the thing with these rest periods are, especially with a team like Man City and Sterling, if they miss one game, they're almost guaranteed to play the next one. So For example, now, if Sterling gets the night off before Game Week 18, then suddenly I think he's a great captaincy for Game Week 19. If him and Sterling play the next two games, or him and Sané play the next two games, then perhaps in the third one I'll be a bit more worried about putting the captaincy on him. So they're the teams with the most rest days, and then it goes down. You've kind of got a lot of teams on 8 and 7, so you're probably going to see rotation there. And a lot of those teams, like Arsenal, for example, a lot of us have got Aubameyang at the moment. Chelsea with Hazard, Man United players potentially coming back into the mix. They've only got 2 days rest between a few games, so you'd expect rotation there. And I suppose the overall strategy with this is there's not a lot you can do about it. There's certain players you'd expect, big centre-backs at the top clubs. Rudiger and David Luiz, would I expect them to get rotated? Possibly not. Maybe even Alonso and Azpilicueta, you'd expect not to. Hazard, though, if he doesn't get rotated or rested, you'd imagine that he'd lose minutes here or there, maybe just play up to 70 minutes. They've got to keep these players fresh. So all those teams in the middle have 8 and 7. And then the two weakest, Everton and Spurs, they only have 2 days rest between all their games, 6 days rest in total. Now, if you look at a team like Spurs, I think someone like Harry Kane could be immune to this. Now, obviously, we know he's not fully immune because he had a rest recently before a big game, or before an easier game that people were maybe thinking about captaining him for after Barcelona, and then. So you'd expect him to play, but then you've got players like Ali and Son and Eriksen and Lucas Moura and Lamela who can all play in those midfield positions and possibly rotate. So I've already got Son, for example, right now. I'm actually looking at getting rid of him because I know there's going to be rotation over this period, especially with those players. Now, Kane maybe not because there's not a good player to come in for him necessarily, but Son could play up front, for example. And then they could play the midfield three behind. So I don't think this should put you off Spurs players completely, but I'm not sure I'd be doubling or tripling on them. And same for Everton. You could see maybe Baines comes in for Lucas Dean. Maybe if they're still playing a back four, maybe the centre-backs rotate a bit. Richarlison, will he get a game off? I'm not sure he will. I think he'll probably plough through. But again, it's something to be concerned about that they've only got 2 days rest between each of their games and 6 in total versus Liverpool, Man City, who've got 9 and 10. So I would definitely have a think about that and look how many rests there are between games and try and work out some kind of rotation threat to your players. Obviously, it's not an exact science, like I said, and the thing is that most teams are in this same boat, especially kind of those middle teams outside of Liverpool, City, Wolves, Everton and Spurs. They've all got kind of 8 or 7 rest days, so you're going to see rotation. Best thing you can try and do is have as solid bench as possible, even if they're not going to likely to get the best scores. If they're at least going to play, then they can pick up maybe 1 or 2 points along the way for you. And looking at teams to target, so these are the teams with kind of the best fixtures. And again, I looked over the Christmas period, so game week 19, 20 and 21. There's some up here we already know about. So West Ham, for example, Southampton away, Burnley away, Brighton at home. I know that I'm looking at Fabianski for them. And then Felipe Anderson and Snodgrass look like great buys. And keep an eye on press conference news because Arnautovic could be back soon, at least at the time of recording this. And I think he could be a good player to have when he comes back from injury. But obviously you've got to consider with him that he has had a few injury worries this season and this many games in quick succession. If West Ham are still putting kind of 2, 3, 4 goals away against teams, and then maybe they don't need to risk Arnautovic for every game. So just be a bit careful about that. Man United got great fixtures. Huddersfield at home, Bournemouth at home, and Newcastle away. I would definitely be looking at a Man United player. Obviously, Mourinho's been sacked. Again, at the time of the recording this, I don't know who's going to be in charge or what team they're going to put out against Cardiff. But I would keep a close eye on who does play against Cardiff and look at the likes of Lingard, Martial, maybe even Lukaku possibly as a really differential punt. And over those fixtures, they look great. There's goals in there, I think. There's no way they can play as defensive as they have under Mourinho. And I just think if you want a bit of a differential, that's one team to look at. Chelsea, Watford away, Palace away, Southampton away. Pretty good, although 2 away fixtures is not fantastic. Obviously, Hazard's the obvious choice. If you wanted someone a bit different to Alonso, for example, you could look at Rudiger in defence. Bit of goal threat there. Fancy him to maybe nick one over Christmas, so a little bit cheaper to get into that Chelsea defence. Otherwise, Hazard and Pedro, I would say. Now, He started, obviously Hazard's been playing in the last couple of games, he's been playing as like a false nine, which means Pedro's got more of a chance of getting into the team because him and Willian are the guys that flank Hazard. And Pedro, when he plays, has got a really good scoring rate of FPL points. So if Hazard plays another game as false nine and Pedro plays again, of course you could see some rotation with him. But it could be a nice little punt, much cheaper than Hazard. And if he plays, I would bet on him being in the points somewhere or other. So I think Pedro and Rudiger in that team could be nice punts. Everton and Spurs are the other two teams that have got really nice fixtures. So Spurs, Bournemouth at home, Wolves at home, and Cardiff away. And then Everton, Burnley away, Brighton away, and Leicester at home. So very good fixtures for those two. I think obviously the standouts, Kane, Richarlison for those two teams. Lucas Dean looks great at Everton, kind of really good for bonus, attacking threat as well, assist potential. I think he could be good to have. Obviously it's 2 away games, especially over Christmas. Not so sure about that. It's a bit of travelling. How hungover a player is going to be, probably not in this day and age, but maybe they've had a bit of extra turkey on Christmas Day or something. I wouldn't be so sure about clean sheets, but Dean has got attacking threat as well, so he looks a great buy. But obviously I did just mention that Spurs kind of rests and breaks and are not good for them. So I'm not sure I'd be loading up on their midfield. But Kane could be a captaincy option, but he's very expensive, and it'd be interesting to see what people have done with him at this point, because I'm not sure he's worth his price tag. Although it does lead me nicely onto captaincy. Now, this is specifically about Game Week 19 because I'll be back to do captaincy and stuff for the other game weeks. But Spurs have Bournemouth at home. Now, Bournemouth defensively are pretty poor. And honestly, that looks like the standout, given the teams that are playing, that looks like the standout fixture for me in terms of goals. Now, obviously, you'd prefer that to be Man City or Liverpool playing them, but it is Spurs. And if you still held Kane at this point, I think he looks like a good option. You could risk Ali, Eriksen's son, someone like that. I think I personally wouldn't if they've all just played in Game Week 18, because I'd just be too worried about rotation with the amount of rest they've had in between. So Kane looks good there. If you really want to punt and you've punted on one of the Man United players, then they play Huddersfield. Now Huddersfield is a team, because we always see them as relegation fodder, and they probably will be this season. We always look at them as a team that's going to concede loads of goals. They don't necessarily always do that. They can be quite organised and tight at the back. So obviously it is a punt because it's Man United who have been awful this season, and Huddersfield don't necessarily ship lots of goals. But if you've gone for a Man United player like Martial and Lukaku, you could go for a massive differential and go for one of them. Otherwise, you've really got the obvious teams. Man City, although they're away, Sterling or Sané can still be great options against Leicester. I really don't think there's many teams in the league that can shut City out, let alone a complete shutout. Almost definitely not going to happen. But even limiting the goals to two or three, I don't think Leicester will necessarily have the kind of power to do that against Man City. So Sané and Sterling obviously standouts because they've been so good. And then Liverpool versus Newcastle. Now, obviously mentioned that Liverpool got the most rest days, but only a couple of days around that fixture. Now, I personally think that Salah will play in that game. I just don't necessarily see him being rotated at all. He could have his minutes managed, 70, 80 minutes over this period. But I think he's going to play because they're top of the league. It's going to take a lot to beat City over the rest of the season, but they're there in pole position. They're obviously going to want to try and hold on to that. And I think because of the rest days outside of these games, he'll probably play them all. Now, whether or not people will own Salah by this point remains to be seen, because obviously he's so expensive. But against Newcastle on Boxing Day, I think that's a really good fixture for Salah. And he's probably, for me, the best option that week. I know Spurs have got the best fixture, I think. I think Salah's the best pick out of the bunch. It's hard to write off the Man City players, but obviously there's always slight concerns over rest and rotation for them. I'm not necessarily so concerned about Salah. So for me, I would pick him. And again, as an outside bet there, you've obviously got Shaqiri, who's done pretty well recently, even when he's come off the bench. And Mane has been picking up points whenever he's played as well. Some people even saying now that maybe he's denting the Salah appeal because he's not passing to him enough. and maybe unlocking the potential for Salah to get lots of points. But for me, Salah's the standout captain there. I think Newcastle can be tight and well organised in defence when they want to be, but overall they're just not a match for Liverpool for me. So Salah the best option, Spurs got the best fixture, Man United the biggest punt, Man City for consistency if you think they're going to start. So that's captaincy done. Last but not least, try and enjoy this period. You're going to have loads of football to watch. There's loads of FPL to manage, but some people just get so frustrated with the game that it can almost spoil Christmas. Because if you come off the back of a game week 18 bad result, then suddenly you're waiting all the way to Boxing Day on the 26th of December to put your team back together. I just wouldn't, although I'm putting a video out, so I suppose it's a bit contradictory if people want to watch it. Just try and enjoy the rest of your day once you've watched this. Don't deliberate too much over FPL if you can. Make your decision, stick with it, put it through, and then wait till the 26th. And you know, for a lot of people, especially kind of in the UK where I'm from and Ireland, you got Boxing Day in the UK, Stephen's Day in Ireland. You know, the 26th is almost like another Christmas Day for a lot of people, and you don't want to spend your whole time checking results and getting annoyed when it doesn't come through. And I've been there on Boxing Day checking my results, and you know, if your FPL players don't do very well, it's super frustrating. So you've got to try and enjoy it. Remember, we've got the whole rest of the season ahead of us, still half the season to go. Lots of time to moan and complain about FPL. Let's not let it happen over the holiday season. And yeah, just try and enjoy it when you can. I hope you do, and I hope you've enjoyed this video. I know it's not specific, and that's a bit frustrating, but hopefully the explanation at the start of the video explains why. If you did enjoy it, give it a thumbs up. Always appreciate it. Subscribe if you're new around here. I really hope your game week 19 is great. I hope the holidays and Christmas period, if you're celebrating, is even better for you. I will see you again for streams and videos next week as normal, and then hopefully every week going through to the end of the season. So thanks very much for watching. Really do appreciate it. Merry Christmas to everyone, and I'll catch you later.